Dexter Morgan isn't just one of television's most fascinating anti-heroes, he's also one of the most prolific fictional killers of all time. But here's the shocking truth. The number of people Dexter has actually killed is far higher than most fans realize. Today we're going to track every single kill across the original series, New Blood, and Resurrection to reveal his real tally. And I promise you, the final number will shock you. So how do you even count something like this? That's where the debate begins, because Dexter's kill list is complicated. Some of his victims fit perfectly into Harry's code: proven killers, predators, and monsters who slipped through the cracks of the justice system. Others, well, let's just say they fall into the gray zone. Mercy killings, accidents, and impulsive murders that break every rule he swore to follow. And then there are the kills where Dexter wasn't the one holding the knife, but still orchestrated the death. Do those count? Fans have argued about this for years. But if you're brave enough, let's start at the beginning. The very first kill in Dexter's long, bloody career was Nurse Mary. She wasn't just a caregiver, she was a serial killer preying on patients, including Harry Morgan himself. When Dexter uncovered the truth, Harry gave him a silent kind of permission to do what needed to be done. It was messy, clumsy, emotional, but unforgettable. From that moment, the Dark Passenger was born. After that came Tony Ferrer, a lone shark responsible for a woman's death and her son's suicide. Then came Mad Dog Moretti, a hitman with more than 200 kills of his own. But here's the twist. Dexter didn't actually finish Moretti off. The old man ran straight into traffic and died under the wheels of a truck. Some fans don't count it as part of Dexter's tally. Others say it absolutely belongs because Dexter orchestrated the moment. And that's exactly why the kill count is so hard to nail down. But by the time Levi Reed found himself strapped to the table, there was no more debate. Reed was a sadistic predator who took pleasure in his victim's suffering. His death officially made Dexter a serial killer by FBI standards, marking his third undisputed kill. From that point on, Dexter wasn't just dabbling. He was fully committed. And the list only grew longer. Mike Donovan, a child predator hiding behind the mask of a choir director. Jaime Jarsky, who filmed himself raping and killing women. Matt Chambers, a reckless drunk driver who escaped justice again and again. Jorge and Valerie Castillo, human traffickers who exploited desperate immigrants. By the end of the first season alone, Dexter's trophies were stacking up. And then came the most devastating kill of all. Brian Moser, the ice truck killer and Dexter's own biological brother. Killing Brian wasn't just another ritual. It was a choice between family and survival, between Deborah's life and the chance to connect with someone who truly understood him. In the end, Dexter slit his brother's throat. And while it saved Deb, it also condemned Dexter to a life of isolation. As the seasons went on, the kills became more complicated. He killed the Trinity Killer, Arthur Mitchell, in one of the most satisfying showdowns of the series. But even that victory turned hollow when Dexter returned home to find Rita dead in a bathtub, leaving baby Harrison in a pool of blood. That moment reshaped everything. It triggered one of the rarest sides of Dexter, the reckless, impulsive murderer who lashed out in pure rage, killing Rankin in a bathroom with his bare hands, drowning Nick against Brother Sam's dying wish. These weren't ritual kills. They were messy, personal, and dangerous, but they still added to the body count. And then there were the mercy killings. Camilla Figg, the family friend suffering from cancer, who begged Dexter to end her pain. Deborah Morgan, left in a vegetative state after being shot by Oliver Saxon. For Dexter, these weren't trophies. They weren't even part of the ritual. They were acts of love twisted by necessity. But should they count in his total? That's where the arguments heat up. By the time Dexter left Miami, his kill count was already staggering. But it didn't stop there. In New Blood, he killed Matt Caldwell after 10 years of restraint. That single act woke up the Dark Passenger like it had never left. Soon after came Jasper Hodge, a drug dealer whose fentanyl nearly killed Harrison. Then Elric Kane, Kurt Caldwell, and Wiggles the Clown. Each kill reminded us that Dexter could never truly outrun what he was. And then in Resurrection, the pattern exploded all over again. Ronald Red Schmidt, the Gemini Killers, and Lowell Sloan, the tattoo collector. And of course, Leon Prater, the billionaire obsessed with serial killers who thought he could outsmart Dexter. Spoiler alert, he couldn't. So where does that leave us? Fans and analysts have pored over every episode, every flashback, every off-screen reference and every blood slide Dexter ever kept. Depending on how you classify certain deaths, the number sits somewhere between 140 and 150 confirmed kills. That's not just impressive for television. That makes Dexter one of the deadliest fictional killers ever put on screen. But here's the part that really makes your stomach turn. Unlike other killers in fiction, Dexter doesn't hide behind chaos. He doesn't kill randomly. Every single one of those victims was selected, confronted, and remembered. That's why his real kill count is so disturbing. It's not just a body count, it's a carefully curated list. A gallery of names, faces, and blood slides that live forever in Dexter's ritual. And maybe that's the real shock. Not that Dexter has killed so many people, but that after everything, the code, the slips, the mistakes, the mercy, he always came back to the same cold truth. He kills because he needs to. The dark passenger never leaves. So now the question is yours. Do you think every kill should count? The mercy killings, the accidents, the slip-ups, or only the code-approved murders? Drop your number in the comments because I want to see who gets closest to the true tally. And if you want more deep dives into Dexter's dark world, hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. Trust me, the dark passenger has plenty left to reveal.
He knows how we work. Look how he hits every major theme: political, environmental, religious. In one section, he manages to weave together Julius Caesar, Berlin, Germany, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Gandhi. It's scattershot. He knew that this would send us scurrying like squirrels for nuts.
Yeah, but to suggest that he might be one of us, how can you be sure?
Would Dexter Morgan actually outsmart the FBI in real life? That is the question we are breaking down today. We all know Dexter as the Bay Harbor Butcher, a man who lived a double life as a blood spatter analyst by day and a meticulous serial killer by night. But what if we stripped away the plot armor and handed his case to the real FBI? Would he slip through their fingers, or would the Bureau's modern profiling and surveillance eventually corner him? Think back to Season 2 of Dexter, when the FBI was called in to investigate the Bay Harbor Butcher case under Special Agent Frank Lundy.
All right. The Bay Harbor Butcher case is now a Miami Metro case, and it is shaping up to be the biggest one in our history. We're now at 14 confirmed. The FBI has sent over their top man, Special Agent Frank Lundy, to help solve this crime.
That storyline gave us a glimpse of what a federal investigation might look like. But let's push the fiction aside and ask something bigger. If Dexter truly existed, and if the FBI launched a full-scale investigation with all of today's resources, could he actually survive? Or would his flaws and slip-ups eventually betray him? That is where this story begins. The first red flag the FBI would notice is Dexter's social behavior. On the show, his inner monologues explain why he pauses, why he hesitates, and why he seems so detached in conversation.
Dex, I got this huge break in the Bay Harbor case.
Oh, I mean, really?
Guys, you're not going.
I refuse to believe that Vince Masuka is the man who single-handedly brings me down.
But in reality, no one would hear those inner thoughts. All they would see is a man staring blankly during jokes, showing no empathy during grief, and often mimicking emotions he does not feel. From a profiler's perspective, that is a huge sign of abnormality. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit studies patterns exactly like this. They look for people who fake emotions, who stay oddly calm during tragedy, and who never quite mirror genuine human reactions. Dexter checks all those boxes. In fact, James Dokes picked up on it just by gut instinct.
What about these? The hotel cokehead murders, this dealer and the girl.
Dokes, the only one who gets the creeps from me.
I'm still waiting for his spider report on the cokehead murders. Go do that.
It's okay.
I'm watching you, mother.
Now imagine a full team of FBI profilers analyzing the same behavior. The suspicion would multiply quickly. The second red flag is Dexter's career itself. On the surface, working as a blood spatter analyst is the perfect cover. Who would ever suspect a forensic expert of being the killer he is supposed to help catch? Yet in reality, this would be a glaring conflict of interest. Every time a new body turned up, Dexter was right there in the middle of the investigation. the FBI would ask the obvious question. Why is the same analyst always tied to cases linked to the Bay Harbor Butcher? And when you add in the detail of the bloodslide trophies, it only grows more suspicious. In the show, characters like Maria Laguerta connected these dots with nothing more than basic police work.
Where's Jimenez now? Murdered by the Bay Harbor Butcher? So who was more likely to want Jimenez dead? Dokes or Dexter?
Oh, come on.
No, Tom. We can't ignore the facts. The Bay Harbor Butcher took blood slides from his victims. Dexter is a blood spatter analyst, and Dokes always thought there was something off about Dexter. What if Dokes was onto him? Jesus, what if Dexter is the real Bay Harbor Butcher?
If she could draw the connection, a federal task force with advanced databases and technology would close that loop even faster. Surveillance is where the FBI would tighten the noose. The Bureau has far more resources than a single detective like Dokes, who often made it obvious when he was tailing Dexter. Real FBI teams can run wiretaps, place GPS trackers on cars, monitor bank and phone records, and assign multiple agents to follow a target around the clock. Every late-night trip, every unusual purchase, every missing hour would be documented. When a washed-up ex-cop like Stan Liddy managed to get close to Dexter with almost no resources,
You're Quinn's friend.
That would be me. FYI, Stan Liddy is my name.
imagine what a coordinated federal team could uncover. It would not take long before Dexter's pattern of nighttime disappearances and ocean trips raised undeniable red flags. That being said, Dexter is not an easy target. His intelligence and adaptability cannot be ignored. He is meticulous with his crime scenes, careful with his alibis, and skilled at masking his tracks. He would not go down without a fight. But intelligence alone cannot erase the human factor. Other people eventually notice. From Dokes to Deborah to Laguerta, almost every character who looked too closely at Dexter eventually discovered the truth. The problem was they never lived long enough to expose him. In real life, however, the FBI is not a single individual. It is a system, and systems keep coming even after one agent makes a mistake. Dexter can silence one detective. He cannot silence an entire bureau. So let's imagine the chase. At first, Dexter would probably continue undetected, maybe for years. Like many real-life serial killers, he could rack up dozens of victims before the FBI even linked the crimes. But once the Bay Harbor Butcher case existed, once a profile was built, the countdown would begin. With every kill, the FBI would connect patterns. With every lie, Dexter would add inconsistencies. Surveillance would capture suspicious movements. Financial tracking would reveal unusual purchases. Phone records could expose late-night calls or contacts he could not explain. The web would tighten piece by piece until Dexter found himself trapped. Now comes the climax. Could Dexter still outmaneuver the Bureau? For a while, maybe. He is resourceful, clever, and thrives under pressure. He could delay the inevitable. But the FBI does not play for days or weeks. They play for years. They do not need to prove everything at once. They only need enough to corner him. And eventually, Dexter's biggest weakness would surface. He can control his actions, but he cannot control the suspicions of others. Co-workers whispering, supervisors second-guessing, friends noticing he is never home at night. All of these small cracks would build into a case too large to escape. So here is my honest estimate. Once the Bay Harbor Butcher investigation was active, it would take 6 months to 1 year for the FBI to put Dexter Morgan behind bars. Without that case, he could operate for much longer, maybe even decades. But once the Bureau turned its eyes on him, the combination of profiling, surveillance, and persistence would overwhelm his carefully built mask. Dexter's brilliance might buy him time, but it would never buy him freedom forever. And that is the truth. Dexter Morgan might be a master of deception on television, but in reality, the FBI would eventually catch him. The only real question is how long it would take. Do you think he could last longer than a year once the FBI was on his trail? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into fiction colliding with reality, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that break down the dark side of our favorite shows.
All right. The Bay Harbor Butcher case is now a Miami Metro case. and it is shaping up to be the biggest one in our history. We're now at 14 confirmed. The FBI has sent over their top man, Special Agent Frank Lundy, to help solve this crime.
Dexter Morgan faced killers of every kind. Some were laughably weak, barely worthy of his table. Others, they nearly tore his entire world apart. Today, we're ranking every single Dexter villain, including the new threats from Dexter, Resurrection, from the weakest pretenders to the deadliest monsters who haunted him. Let's start at the bottom, the weakest tier. These are the so-called villains who either lacked skill, lacked brains, or simply couldn't stand toe-to-toe with Dexter.
Think this is funny?
Blood on your hands, too. Ethan Turner, Clemson Galt.
I am the last person you want to fuck with because I will
Fuck you back in ways you never even imagined.
Miguel Prado from Season 3 might shock some of you. As a district attorney, he had the power to expose Dexter, but in reality, Miguel was reckless, impulsive, and easy to manipulate. He thought he could live by Dexter's code, but his arrogance sealed his fate. Next, we've got Jordan Chase's followers.
We don't love power of risk, dire. The power of take it.
I have some bad news for everyone. We're going to die. Some of us sooner than others.
Season 5's group of weak-willed enablers. Yes, they helped cover up heinous crimes, but against Dexter, they were pawns. Nothing more. Disposable. Forgettable. From Resurrection, we slide in Ronald Red Schmidt.
Take the bridge.
You sure tunnel's faster?
The so-called rideshare killer. At first, he looked like a dangerous copycat Dexter could use to his advantage. But the truth? He was sloppy, predictable, and ultimately just a stepping stone for Dexter to infiltrate something bigger. Even creepier but equally ineffective was Lowell.
Fist bump, okay. Hey, heard there may be a new guy.
The tattoo collector, a Resurrection villain obsessed with carving skin like it was art. Disturbing, sure, but dangerous to Dexter? Not even close. Now we move up the ladder. The mid-tier villains. These killers were threats. Some psychological, some physical, but they were either too flawed, too emotional, or too predictable to truly destroy Dexter. Lila Tournay in Season 2 fits this perfectly.
Find out what happened to the men responsible for your mother's murder. And what are you going to do about it?
She nearly manipulated Dexter into abandoning his code. She came closer than most to exposing his personal life. But in the end, she was obsessed, not calculated, dangerous only to Dexter's heart, not his life. Travis Marshall, the Doomsday Killer of Season 6, was chaotic and violent, yes.
What I want is to be free.
But he lacked control. Dexter dismantled him because Travis's madness outweighed his method. Isaac Serco from Season 7 deserves a higher spot for one reason: personal motive.
I believe you recently gave notice. Your feedback is important. Do you mind telling me why you quit?
Serco's vendetta against Dexter was relentless. He had the resources of the Ukrainian mob, and he nearly pushed Dexter over the edge. But love clouded Serco's judgment. That made him human. That made him vulnerable. In Resurrection, Mia LaPierre, or Lady Vengeance, deserves mention here.
82 Chateau Lafitte, 90 Romane Conti. Someone has really stepped up their wine game.
A certain renowned sommelier gave me some pointers.
She killed with fury, with emotion, driven by her sister's tragedy. A formidable killer, yes, but unstable. She didn't have Dexter's patience, and unpredictability was her weakness. Then you have the Gemini killers, Gareth Pike and his twin.
God, how do you do it? How have you kept your secret all these years? I can't get into specifics.
Resurrection gave us the twisted thrill of siblings who kill together. More dangerous than most, but their rivalry and dysfunction limited them. Dexter exploited it, and once again, he walked away. But now, let's enter the true apex predators, the villains who left scars, not just on Dexter's victims, but on Dexter himself. Brian Moser, the ice truck killer.
Who was she?
I didn't know. I watched her die.
Dexter's own brother. Season 1's shocking twist. Brian wasn't just a killer, he was family. He understood Dexter in a way no one else did. That made him one of the deadliest, because he didn't want to kill Dexter, he wanted to keep him. Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, Season 4, the man who destroyed Dexter's family.
Warmth, intimacy, he's convincing. All right.
Arthur Mitchell.
Mitchell wasn't just deadly because of his kills. He was deadly because he infiltrated Dexter's personal life. He smiled with Dexter's son. He laughed with his wife. And in the end, he left Dexter broken, his world in ruins. For many fans, Trinity remains #1. But New Blood gave us Kurt Caldwell, a predator hiding in plain sight.
You know, there was a time when I thought you and I would be great friends. And there was that time outside the tavern when you picked me up in your truck. Almost like it was fate.
Kurt lured vulnerable girls, kept them like trophies, and nearly ended Dexter's legacy. He proved that even years later, Dexter could meet someone who mirrored his darkest tendencies. Then came Resurrection and Leon Prater.
Goodness, no! I am just a huge fan.
A billionaire with resources beyond anything Dexter had faced, Prater didn't just kill, he collected killers. He ran a secret society of predators, a club where murder was currency. Leon wasn't dangerous because of his knife. He was dangerous because he built a world where killers thrived. Taking him down nearly cost Dexter everything. And finally, the shadow that lingers. The New York Ripper, Don Frampt. Barely revealed, only hinted at in Resurrection's finale. But what we saw was terrifying. Files, evidence, whispers of a killer who may outmatch them all. When Resurrection continues, Frampt could be Dexter's greatest challenge yet, a predator waiting in the dark. So, who's the deadliest? For some, it will always be Trinity, the man who destroyed everything Dexter loved. For others, Leon Prater's ambition makes him the most terrifying. And for those looking ahead, the New York Ripper may rewrite the list entirely. One thing's certain. Each villain tested Dexter in a new way. Some were weak, some were unstable. But the deadliest, they nearly turned the hunter into the hunted. Do you agree with the ranking? Or would you put someone else at the top? If you're still watching, drop Dark Passenger in the comments.